23-year-old Hannah Henry was a student at the local university and proud parent to Lola, her adorable cat. Everything seemed to be going her way until Lola mysteriously vanished. A heated encounter with an ex-boyfriend, a simultaneously missing kitty, and the molecular testing procedure that cracked this case wide open. Where was she? Who was behind this? Tonight, we answer all of this and more. I'm Tyler Sanderson, and this is Dateline. There were a couple prime suspects in Lola's disappearance. She was a star, a cat competition champion, much to her competitors' dismay. We talked to one of her main rivals, Clarabelle, about Lola's sudden disappearance. So where were you on the night that Lola disappeared?
I was at home with my award-winning purebred cat.
Hannah's boyfriend also adored Lola, even after the couple had a big public argument the night that Lola went missing. Did he feel that Lola was rightfully his? We decided to ask him some questions after the fact. What was your relationship with Lola?
She was my cat.
And where were you the night that she went missing?
We went to go sing karaoke. We got in a fight afterwards, and then I went home and Lola was gone.
When we talked to Hannah, she was distraught.
She was just the sweetest kitty. You know, she was so fluffy.
There had to be a way to find her kitty.
I just can't imagine how distant. I'm sorry.
Luckily, Lola fought back. There was blood at the scene of the crime. We talked to the experts at the lab when the sample was first found to see if they could identify the culprit using DNA analysis.
Hello. Thank you, Tyler, for having me today in the forensic lab here in Wilsonville. But today I'd like to take this chance to inform you on what we did in Hannah's specific case here in Wilsonville, Oregon. Okay, so this analysis that we have here in the 1980s, it was first devised by Alec Jeffreys in the 1970s, a British a scientist that was looking at paternity testing at that time. He was very famous for that, but we embraced this technology in the 1980s and we used it in forensics. Again, with our forensic samples, we are looking for variable numbers of tandem repeated units, also known as insertion. Those are highly conserved amongst individuals. And so we are looking to expose that in order to be able to tell a suspect from a non-suspect in this case. We took the samples, it was about 10 to 15 nanograms high molecular weight DNA. But we purified this DNA using our purification methods. And then we isolated the DNA. We isolated this DNA to make it into single-stranded DNA. We wanted to open up that DNA and make single-stranded DNA. After we did that, we added a restriction enzyme. A restriction enzyme that can cut at a particular point to cut these fragments in the sizes that we wanted specifically. And it was digesting the DNA. At that point, we put this DNA into an electrophoresis gel. Again, that is an electrophoresis gel. At the top, DNA, of course, is negative. Okay, so we put this into the gel, and it's negative here and positive. So the bands will separate according to size. We want to cut this size off at 50 base pairs. That's as big as we want, 250 base pairs. We're using a ladder here, in order to be able to tell what is the cutoff for the 500 base pairs. We're able to cut these specific bands out of the electrophoresis gel. We cut them out, and we were able to put them into another test tube. And again, extract that DNA and put it into another test tube so that we could insert plasmids from our vector of our, usually a bacteria organism. I will go into the specifics of this. This is not microbiology. So our plasmids, we inserted this DNA into our plasmids, and then we were able to do a southern blot. With this southern blot, we have a ladder again, a ladder similar to the electrophoresis, okay? And we're able to compare Hannah's sample with the ex-boyfriend who we thought for sure at the time was a culprit. We were sure, we had it on tape that he had a huge fight with Hannah at that time. We were certain it was him. But no, we had to rule him out. He did not match. And Clarabelle, this was another suspect that we had. She was high up on our radar. But again, she did not prove anything. We did not have enough DNA at the time in the 1980s. We did not have enough. We could rule out the ex-boyfriend at that time. He was not the
Catnapper.
But Clarabelle was inconclusive.
With no more leads to follow, the case suddenly went cold. A few years later, in the early 90s, a new type of DNA testing was on the scene. It required less sample to test and boasted a quicker turnaround time. We went back to the lab to see if they could analyze further. They provided us with this clear and concise explanation of their new technology.
STRs, or short tandem repeats, are short segments of the genome that repeat the same nucleotide sequence several times over and over. The number of STRs and their variation can vary from person to person, making them useful in matching DNA in a forensic setting. Unlike VNTRs, which is the older method, STRs are shorter at only about 2 to 10 base pairs per an STR. They are also more evenly dispersed throughout the human genome, and they require a lot less DNA to analyze than the older methods did. All these things make them a lot more accurate and easier to work with choice for DNA fingerprinting than the VNTR method did. Once the forensic DNA sample has its STR pattern identified, it can be compared to a wide forensic database of known human STR patterns. At each of the STR site, there's a calculated percentage of variation that's known for the general human population, and the likeliness that a person would have that particular STR variant is then compared to the overall database for each site. So the more STR sites you examine, the odds that a person would match that particular pattern start to shrink and shrink. And by the time you get to around 13 site comparisons, the odds are so minuscule that the person would match that pattern. You can consider that almost a certainly positive ID.
With this more accurate technology, our experts in the lab retested samples that had been previously inconclusive. The DNA from the blood found at the scene of the crime was a perfect match for Clarabelle. In a fit of jealousy, she had taken Lola and adopted her as her own. Once Clarabelle was caught, we were able to return Lola to Hannah and to her rightful loving home.
Lola! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, she's back. Thank you so much. I missed you. I missed you so much. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad we have these wonderful advanced molecular technologies to help return gorgeous fluffy kitties. But I just love you so much, and I